Good evening. We begin tonight with a significant escalation in tensions between the United States government and its domestic media. The U.S. Media Oversight Agency has issued a stark warning to broadcasters, threatening to revoke their licenses over critical reporting on the ongoing Iran war. This move follows repeated complaints from President Donald Trump and his Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth regarding what they term as biased or false news. Brendan Carr, the chairman of the U.S. Media Oversight Agency, announced the potential consequences on the online service X. He stated unequivocally that broadcasters are legally mandated to act in the public interest. Failure to do so, he warned, could result in the loss of their broadcasting licenses. Carr explicitly targeted media outlets he claims are disseminating false reports and news distortions, giving them a clear opportunity to correct their course before their upcoming license renewals. While Carr, a Republican like President Trump, did not name specific media organizations, his statements have sent shockwaves through the industry. The Media Oversight Agency is the body responsible for granting television and radio licenses in the United States, and it is traditionally expected to operate with neutrality. However, critics argue that during President Trump's second term, the agency has increasingly become a tool to advance the president's agenda. President Trump himself appointed Carr as chairman shortly after his election in November. This latest development comes against a backdrop of heightened scrutiny on war reporting. Since the commencement of U.S.-Israeli attacks on Iran and Iran's subsequent counterattacks on Israel and the Gulf region on February 28th, President Trump and his Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth have consistently dismissed critical reports as fake news. Just this past Friday, the Pentagon and the White House publicly criticized the news channel CNN. Their grievance stemmed from a CNN report suggesting that Washington had underestimated the risk of a potential blockade of oil transports through the Strait of Hormuz during the planning stages of airstrikes against Iran. The immediate backlash to Carr's remarks has been widespread and vocal. Media organizations and advocates for press and freedom of speech have condemned the agency's threats. The New York Times, in an official statement, characterized Carr's actions as part of a campaign against what he perceives as biased reporting. CNN, a frequent target of the administration's ire, stated that the Trump administration continually exerts pressure to suppress content it dislikes. The Fire Foundation, an organization dedicated to upholding freedom of speech, issued a powerful statement declaring, if the government forces the press under threat of penalties to become the mouthpiece of the state, something is going terribly wrong. Beyond the threats to media licenses, there's also growing concern about the broader transparency and information policy of the U.S. government regarding the Iran war. As of March 14, 2026, 2 weeks after the start of the conflict, there remains profound uncertainty about when the United States and Israel intend to bring an end to the hostilities. A Pentagon spokeswoman stated that the media has received an overwhelming amount of information since the war began, pointing to 5 press conferences held since late February. However, critical voices note that only President Trump, Defense Secretary Hegseth, U.S. Chief of Staff Dan Kane, and the head of the U.S. Central Command, or CENTCOM, Brad Cooper, have conducted these press briefings. This is a stark contrast to previous conflicts where journalists routinely received almost daily detailed updates on operational situations. In past wars, reporters were often embedded with combat units, and a significantly larger number of U.S. military and government officials provided information to the press. Concerns about press freedom have been mounting for some time, with media houses and politicians expressing alarm as early as September 22, 2025. The current threats represent a critical juncture for the independence of the press in the United States and its role in informing the public about matters of war and peace. What's your take on Trump ally threatens US media licenses amid Iran war coverage? Share your view in the comments. Do you think this will matter in the next news cycle? This video was generated using artificial intelligence.